Hey everyone, I am Shelby Slowey. I'm one of the associate pastors at Brentwood United Methodist Church, and I am speaking to you from my home this afternoon. Like many of you, we are practicing safe physical distancing from our neighbors, and that means we're trying to figure out what life is going to look like for us over the next couple of weeks. I wanted to let you know that the pastors and the staff at Brentwood are working really hard to try and stay connected with you all. And so today I thought I would share a couple of words and a short devotion and just do that together with you guys in community. Davis reminded us on Sunday that physical distancing is not the same thing as spiritual distancing. We have the ability, we have the tools, we have the resources to stay connected in the midst of this thing. It might be new for some of you, it might be challenging, but we are made for community and we're made for a relationship, and so we are going to figure this out. We'll find a way together with God's help. But I do want to say, if you need some help navigating through this new terrain, just reach out. You can give us a call, shoot us an email. Any one of us on staff would be more than happy to help walk you through how to access a Facebook Live video, or how to tune into the live stream, or how to download the worship materials. If these things are difficult, just give us a call. We'll walk you through it. We are learning this thing together. So if you're like me, you might be experiencing a little bit of whiplash at the moment. The massive disruption that the spread of the coronavirus has happened is enough to make anyone concerned. And if you're plugged into the constant evolving news stories and the media, then it's easy to feel overwhelmed and anxious. And those feelings are not wrong. So don't feel shame about that. God gave us feelings for a reason. He gave us feelings so that we can feel things. So we won't be ashamed, but I am here to remind you of something. While this particular crisis, what we're going through right now, might be unprecedented, it certainly is for me in my lifetime. I also know that crises and pandemics are not new terrain for God or for humanity. I was reminded of this myself yesterday. I was on Facebook and I was a part of this clergy group, and this awesome resource from a Jewish temple in Denver, Colorado popped up. I was feeling anxious, and honestly, I was feeling a little angry. I was having a lot of response to what's going on around me, and I just couldn't find that peace. I was praying, I was looking in the Word. I just couldn't find that peace that passes understanding until I came across this resource. The rabbi at the temple had created something that he calls the Jewish Values Matrix, and we'll link that below if you want to check that out after this, so you can access it. But it got me thinking, what are our values? You know, these 4 values that spoke to the people of Judaism and how they're called to respond in a crisis, how they're called to respond and act and behave in times of uncertainty and ambiguity and volatility, like this. So I thought, what are our values as Christians, as people of Brentwood United Methodist Church? So I made a short list. Feel free to comment anything that you'd like to add. This can be an ongoing discussion. These are values that are rooted in Scripture and confirmed by the teachings of Jesus. So the first value is the value of life. Genesis tells us that all people are created in the image of God and all lives are sacred and precious. This guiding and foremost value tells us that we must do all we can to protect human life and preserve it. So the church is actually in alignment with the call for physical distancing right now, because it's literally saving people, countless lives, from decreasing transmission opportunities. This value assures us that by staying home and avoiding crowds, we're doing the morally sound thing. Secondly, the value of community. When God saw that it was not good for Adam to be alone, God created a companion for him in Eve. The parable of the Good Shepherd teaches us that God's deepest desire is to have all sheep together in the fold. And throughout his ministry, Jesus also was continually bringing the isolated and the marginalized back into community, restoring that social fabric. So this second value we must hold in tension with the first, which was preserving human life. So we have to ask ourselves, how are we to be the church? How are we to restore hope, to restore community in the midst of this type of physical separation? And this is going to require all of our minds to consider and contemplate over the next few weeks, probably even beyond that. So I encourage you to join us in that work. Thirdly, the value of mercy and compassion. Scripture is full of the command to forgive, and it is full of the certainty that our God is merciful to us. So this central value reminds us that it is not in the Christian code of ethics to lay blame or to show contempt or disdain to those who are different from us or think differently from us. Instead, we are called to show compassion, to suffer with, and like Job's friends in that first week before they got out of control and got way ahead of themselves, that first week they were silent with Job. They saw that his suffering was great. They were compassionate. They mourned with him. So in this crisis, we're called to show compassion to those who are suffering. Yes, we might be inconvenienced, but how are we to reach out to those who might lose their jobs, who can't find childcare, who can't eat because they're not in school, or older adults that have no safety net? These are the people God calls us to journey with. I think the biggest thing to remember right now is that as Christians, worship might be canceled, in-person worship, programs might be canceled, our mission trips might be canceled, but the mission is not canceled, okay? Our mission is never canceled. We just have to get creative. And fourth, and the final one that I was able to come up with today, the value of rejoicing. And this harkens back to that first value of preserving life, because we also want to celebrate that life. We celebrate the joy and the beauty and the hope and the love that we see all around us. So some of you may have seen that video in Italy, a whole apartment complex just threw their windows open wide and they all sang together. There was another video of a man leading a workout, a physical trainer on a rooftop, and all the windows of every building around the rooftop had people in their living rooms doing jumping jacks and working out together. So they were still being in community even while being separate, and that's worth rejoicing about. So the question for us is, how are we as people of faith finding ways to rejoice and help others rejoice? How are we finding ways to reconnect and to care for our neighbors? And how are we celebrating God's glory, right? God's glory didn't go anywhere. It's still everywhere. It's around us. We are wayfinders as Christians. We are heart shapers. We are peacemakers. We are glory-siders. We are children of God. And as such, we have a royal responsibility to care for God's kingdom. So, if you have a glory sighting that you'd like to share, please comment below or email us. We would love to share that with our community. So, I hope that gives you some peace and some joy this afternoon. Please don't ever hesitate to reach out. That's all I have for today. Thanks so much for being the church with me. It is an honor and a pleasure to serve in ministry alongside you. May you continue to be blessed and be a blessing to others. Amen.